Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today we'll be looking at the story of the cow. Surah 2, Surah number 2 of the Holy Quran, the longest surah in the Holy Quran, is called after this story, which is called the cow. Now, the verses of the cow is verses 67 to 73, a specific incident that occurred at the time of Musa alayhi salam. Its lessons is for everyone and for all times, so we can benefit from them, inshallah. Now, the word Baqarah is mentioned only 4 times in the whole of the Holy Quran, and this 4 times is mentioned in these few verses relating to this story in Surah Al-Baqarah. Now, what's interesting is why has the whole surah of number 2, chapter 2 of the Holy Quran been named after Al-Baqarah? There are many, multiple reasons it could be. But number 1, the incident mentioned in this story is actually not mentioned anywhere else in the Quran. And it's more detailed and comprehensive than all the other stories with regards to Musa and the Bani Israel within Surah Al-Baqarah. Other stories mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah only give glimpses of incidents that are also mentioned elsewhere in the Quran, unlike this story. Hence, the whole chapter has been named after this story. Verses 67 to 71 is the middle of the story. Verse 72 is the beginning of the story, and verse 73 is the end of the story. So it actually starts from the middle, which gives it that drama and suspense, and it's a style of the Holy Quran as well, which is very interesting and unique to it. So in verses 67, we find, and I'm going to be reading the English mostly, not all the Arabic, because it'll be too long to read all the 7 verses in Arabic, which relates to this story. So ayah, verse 67 of Surah Al-Baqarah. And when Musa said to his people, surely Allah commands you that you should sacrifice a cow. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً. Sacrifice a cow. That's how the story begins. So they say, قَالُوا أَتَتَّخِذُنَا هُزُوًا. Is this a joke? Are you making a joke out of this? Do you ridicule us? He said, I seek protection from Allah, that I'm from the ignorant. No, I'm not. This is not a joke. This is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Interesting here is when the idea or the story or sacrificing a cow is brought to the Bani Israel, they find it something ridiculous. Is this a ridiculous thing? In the same way, the whole chapter of Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah in the whole Quran, is not that of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam or Ibrahim or Musa or any of this. No, the longest surah in the Quran is called the cow. In the same way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, it's not the name or what I'm asking you to do that's important. It's the meaning behind it. And sometimes we look at Surah Al-Baqarah and some Muslims will ask, why is this? What is this? Why is it called Surah Al-Baqarah? Why the cow? What's so important? Because we have misunderstood the meaning behind it. And the idea here in the story is the obligation to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is called submission, Islam, which is a central theme to this surah as well as the whole Quran. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet of God, is ordering to sacrifice his Baqarah. He's a Prophet of God. We already know he's a Prophet of God. We've already established that through his many miracles and signs, splitting of the sea and all the other miracles of Musa alayhi salam. Yet the people still question him. Do you really want us to do this? Is this right? Is this wrong? As many of us Muslims still do today with the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Surah Ayah 68. They shall call on your Lord for our sake, to make it plain to us what she is, what this cow is. Musa said, it's a cow, neither advanced in age nor too young. It's middle-aged. So therefore do as you are commanded. Now verses 68, 69, 70, 71, they keep on questioning Musa to try and explain to them what this cow is. The reality of the situation is Musa just told them to sacrifice a cow. It could have been any cow. But because they were reluctant to do so, they kept on asking questions to try and get away from the obligation. Now, asking questions is good, but only if you're trying to understand. Here, they were asking questions to try and remove themselves from this obligation or because of laziness. In the same way that, for example, when we have a question about Islam, we may ask the same question to 100 people just to find that loophole or someone that might say, no, actually, you know what, this is halal, don't worry about it. So instead of asking for us to understand the command of Allah, we ask so we can find a way out of it to get an easier path or a loophole, if you like. So they continue and they say, call unto your Lord to ask us. By the way, the call unto your Lord, the way they're asking is also very impolite, because they're not trying to understand the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's my Lord and your Lord and everyone's, but they're saying, oh Musa, you go and ask God, let us see what it is, trying to get out of the obligation. Now he tells them it's a yellow cow. He gives them more specific details because they say they want more details. إنها بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها تسر الناظرين. It's a yellow cow, very bright, that gives delight to the beholders. It will be very obvious which one it is. Now you think that's enough, but then they say, no, all the cows are alike, please give us more detail in the verse afterwards. So then in verse 71, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives even more details. It's a cow that's made submissive. It doesn't plow the land. It doesn't irrigate the tilth. It's very specific. It doesn't have any blemishes on it. He's giving very specific instructions for them to understand who this cow is, and so there's no more excuses. They can't say, okay, it's not obvious to us. It's very obvious now. It's a very specific type of cow. So they went and they said, now you have brought the truth. They said, الآن جئت بالحق. The reality of it is the truth was brought right at the beginning when Musa commanded him to sacrifice the cow. But they were not willing, or it didn't make sense to them. And because it didn't make sense to them, or they didn't understand if this was just a joke, they tried to make excuses and trying to get out of the obligation. In the same way that sometimes, instead of just following the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to understand it in such a way that it pleases us. In other words, we want to worship God the way we want to worship Him, not the way He wants us to worship Him. That's why Iblis said to Allah, Shaitan, he said to Allah, you know what, I will not prostrate down to Adam, but I will prostrate down to you. I want to worship you how I want to worship, not how you want me to worship. And that's a key point. The concept of submission to the will of God, we submit wholeheartedly and we worship Allah in the way that He wants us to worship Him. So this is a very important story to understand. And then ayah 72. Now this is where it actually gets to the beginning and tells us what this whole scenario is about. It says, وَإِذْ قَتَلْتُمْ نَفْسًا فَادَّارَأْتُمْ فِيهَا. And when you killed a person and you disagreed to who killed him and what happened was, at the time, someone was killed. There was a murder within the village. And other people were blaming other people within that village, saying, oh no, there's that tribe or this tribe that killed him and we want the blood money for it. So Musa, when they came to Musa and said, this person has been killed, we want something done about it, he said, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to work for it. So work for it, go sacrifice a cow and bring it to me. And this is where the whole scenario happened, and they were like, why, what's this got to do with this dead person? And started questioning Musa instead of obeying the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then it goes ayah 73. It gives us the conclusion that he brought part of the dead sacrificed cow. Now when they finally sacrificed it, they brought part of that cow and they put it towards the dead person and he came to life. They say in the narrations that he came to life, he pointed at the person that killed him and then went back to dying again, to his previous state. So what happens is that when he pointed to that person, it was actually part of his family member. It was either his nephew or cousin that he pointed to. And that was the person that was making the most noise because he wanted the blood money from the other tribe. And subhanAllah, it became revealed that that was the person that killed him. Now what's interesting about this story is not only the story and the lessons that we can derive from it, but there's a story within a story. What happened when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them about this cow and this very specific cow, when they looked around, they only found one cow with that kind of characteristics that was mentioned. When they went to that family, the person said, I can't sell this cow, this is very important to me, it was gifted from my father and I can't give this cow. So they said, no, we need it. This is the only cow that fits the requirements that Musa told us. So he said, okay, if you give me such amount, like a really large amount of money, then I'll give you this cow. So they agreed reluctantly, and they got the cow and they sacrificed it, and this incident happened. And he got a lot of money out of it. What was the story of that kid, that person that was selling the cow? At a young age, when he was young, there came to him a chance to get lots of wealth by doing a transaction. Now these people were going past and they were going to buy a lot of things from him. But what happened was the key that held everything that he was going to sell was under the pillow of his dad who was sleeping. So he told them, look, my dad is sleeping and the key is under the pillow, so I can't sell you the things now. Please, can you wait? They said, no, we're traveling, we have to leave now. And they left. So he missed the opportunity to amount a lot of wealth because of his kindness to his parents. Because of his kindness to his father, he showed kindness by not even waking him up. Because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I will give you back double, triple that amount later on in life. Because what happens is what we do in our life now comes back to us later on in life. What goes around comes around. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. He will show us the ways and give us and recompense us for our good actions both in this life as well as the afterlife. And on that note, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.